Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So I think there's some good racing tomorrow at Cheltenham, Doncaster, Fairyhouse, Uttoxeter. I'm going to go through quite a few of the races, having a look, giving my views on the race, who I think is most likely to win, etc. And we'll start off looking at the 12:05 at Cheltenham. And there's two in this race that I think are very interesting. The first one being Cheltenham and Vol, who I think's got some really smart form, to be fair. The run last time out behind Miami Magic and Regent Stroll, I think was a very good effort. Miami Magic was bouncing back to a bit of form. We've got to remember that he was a had previously gone off favourite for a Grade 2 hurdle before then going off favourite for a Grade 1 hurdle. So Miami Magic winning wasn't it was just him bouncing back to form. Regent Stroll, we think, is probably a graded horse as well that's being campaigned this season to get him into the Jack Richards Novices Handicap Chase at Cheltenham, a race that they won last year with Caldwell Potter. And Cheltenham and Vol finishing third to them when looking like a big danger. I don't think that was a bad run at all. And these here in this race, for me, are good handicappers, horses that can go on and win handicaps. I think Miami Magic and Regent Stroll next season will be running in graded races, and I actually think Cheltenham and Vol is going to be running in graded races. All three of those I think are better than handicap company, and Cheltenham and Vol has essentially bumped into graded horses. Is there a graded horse in this race? For me, I don't think there is. I don't think there is. I think these are good handicappers, progressive handicappers, but do I think any of them are going to end up in graded races next season other than Cheltenham and Vol? No, I don't. And with that, you have to be very interested in Cheltenham and Vol then. And if we have a look at the current prices for tomorrow, let's just have a little look. I would suggest he should be favourite because, I think he's the graded horse running in the handicap. The second horse that you can see that I've highlighted is one that, if you follow my videos, follow my handicap analysis and stuff, you'll know who I like here. Secret de Dieu. We've said that we wanted to give this horse another chance after finishing fourth at Kempton in that race behind Barlovento. Now, interestingly, that form is being well supported here. You can see Barlovento won the race, is being backed in, and Secret de Dieu was fourth and being backed in. Now, the reason I think Secret de Dieu might be able to reverse that form is actually due to the track. I thought Secret de Dieu ran a really good race at Newbury in a race that's worked out really well. Member number 5, Mighty Bandit, Bluey, they were the first, second and fourth that day. They've all come out and won since. Mighty Bandit's come out and won a graded race. Member number 5's come out and won a graded race. We actually think Mighty Bandit can come out and win again. We'll talk about that later on in the video. Bluey's come out and won at Windsor. Secret de Dieu was the only one of those four that hasn't yet won. But that was just because it didn't quite go to plan at Kempton. Was probably a little bit keen. And to be fair, the race isn't that bad either. The 5th and 6th, Queensbury Boy should have won at Windsor on his next run, and we actually think the 6th horse, Noble Park, could win tomorrow as well. So we think there could be some nice form franks from that race anyway. But going back to Cheltenham for a horse that ran so well at Newbury, we think will be even better than the Kempton form to Cheltenham. Kempton form to Cheltenham doesn't always work out, whereas Newbury form to Cheltenham has a much better record of working out. It's the same way round, it's the same sort of track. We like horses that win at Newbury to then go on to the Cheltenham Festival. So I understand why Secret de Dieu is being backed now. We've got on at slightly bigger prices than this. We hope that if that isn't the right form and he's not able to reverse the form with Barlovento, then Cheltenham and Vol can show that he is the graded horse in the race. We've actually backed them both, and we think both will run really nice races there. Moving on to the 12:40. We'll stay at Cheltenham to start with. Moving on to the 12:40, where I wouldn't be putting off anyone from Maestro Conti. let's see what the bookies are doing at the moment. I think they're just trying to push out Maestro Conti, and the money's coming from Manila Yoga. I imagine some of that's because Paul Nicholls has come out and said it's his best chance of a winner, which it is. But Dan Skelton, I feel, knows what he's got here. He's sending this horse and he's going, we're going to get a side to win at Cheltenham. We believe this is our Cheltenham Festival horse. For a couple of reasons. They're kind of relying on Maestro Conti because they do have a nice horse in Precious Man. But they don't think Precious Man is quite suited to Cheltenham. And the fact that they've already come out and kind of suggested that and been bold with that and gone, he's not going to Cheltenham, is because I feel that they think they've got their Triumph Hurdle horse in Maestro Conti. No point running against each other. It's unlikely, but say they did both run and they both finished, and they finished first and second in the race, it'd be gutted that he's kind of almost wasted a run with one of their horses that then might go to Aintree and just have left a little bit too much at Cheltenham. So I feel like that's why he's keen to split them up. And he thinks that Maestro Conti is his Cheltenham horse. He thinks that Precious Man is his Aintree horse. And although I've just said Kempton form doesn't always work with Cheltenham, it doesn't. However, Maestro Conti was so impressive at Kempton, it kind of didn't matter where that was. That could have been at Leicester, and you would have had to have gone, hang on a second, he's a decent horse here. That could have been at Chelmsford, if they did jumps at Chelmsford. They obviously don't. You would have had to have looked at that race and gone, that was a very smart performance from Maestro Conti. They know how good he is. They'll know how good he is in terms of ability-wise compared to One Horse Town as well, the third favourite. They might go there and think we've only got Manila Yoga to beat, and we're pretty confident that we can. I don't think they would be running him here if they didn't think that he was their Cheltenham horse. Although he's a little bit weak in the market, it wouldn't surprise me if tomorrow they went back the other way once people started to see that Maestro Conti was actually back at a backable price. Manila Yoga, as I said, I think they're just trying to take this favourite on, and also Paul's positive words about the horse. Of course it's going to be positive. He said it's his best chance of a winner. It is, because it's the 2-1 second favourite. There's nothing interesting in about that thoughts. But yeah, I think Maestro Conti will take all of the beating there in the 12.40. We stayed at Cheltenham and we go to the 1:15, the very interesting 1:15. There are 3 horses in this race that I am watching. They are Jaguar, Moon d'Orange and Risk in the Ground. Now my bet is actually on Moon d'Orange, who I think might be I don't think he's the outsider of those 3, he's the middle one of those 3, yeah. Currently available at 12-1. Now, the reason I think Moon d'Orange is the bet in this race is he's here to win. Off a mark of 1:30, he's back to the track that he'd ran, he's back to the race that he actually won last year, which he won off a handicap mark of 129. He won it off 129, and he runs this year off 130. Alex Harvey actually takes £3 off, which essentially means he's running off 127. £2 lower than when winning it last year. Interesting. He went off 7-2 joint favourite last year. Very interesting. And yet, this year, off an essential lower mark in terms of after taking the jockey's claim into account, he's a much bigger price. And also, the reason I'm watching Jaguar in this race, and the concern about Jaguar here, and it's not a surprise for me to see the horse drifting, is last year in this race JP had a horse running called Iroko. Now we obviously know Iroko got beat that day. There was an inquiry into the running and riding of him. Wasn't there to win that race, and then went to Aintree for his target, and where he ran a really nice race in the Grand National. Could they be doing the same thing here with Jaguar? If Jaguar was to win this off a mark of 149, he would go up to potentially like 155. I'm saying he gets a £5 rise, £6 rise, sorry. If he got a £6 rise, do you then think he could win the plate off that mark, 155, which would actually be £16 higher than when winning it last year? I would be questioning that. And then they would go, okay, we can't win the plate, we've got to run him in the Ryanair. JP's got Factor File and probably John Bon in the Ryanair. Why will JP want another horse in that race? He won't. He won't be going, oh, I want the 1, 2, 3 in the Ryanair. That's not his plan at all. He just wants to win that Ryanair. So with that in mind, would you have a better chance of losing this race, finishing 3rd or 4th, blaming the mistakes again, saying that he was unlucky, things didn't go to plan, etc., staying off a mark of 149 and turning up for the plate, or trying to win the plate off 155-ish, or even higher, or ending up pushing yourself out of that race and ending up in the Ryanair? That's why I can't back Jaguar here, because I could see him getting beat, staying off the same mark, dropping slightly, being held up under John Joe O'Neill, coming through late, not getting there in time, turning up for the Cheltenham Festival and winning. And winning the plate. I think he would go well in the plate, I really do, off this current mark. He would be a big player in the plate. But I think JP might already have that race in mind rather than this one here. That's my concern about Jaguar and why I have to take him on here. The third horse I'm watching is Risk in the Ground, who's currently rated 142. The reason I'm looking at that horse, he actually won a race, the Silver Trophy, in April of last year, back at Cheltenham, over 2.5, in April, as I just mentioned, off 137, currently rated 142. This looks a competitive handicap. Risk in the Ground, I can't see him winning this, and nor can the market. But I can see him getting comfortably beaten here, and potentially being dropped 3 pounds. £3 would be ideal, I feel. If he got dropped £3 and was back to a mark of 139, just a £2 higher mark, they would definitely look at that handicap at Cheltenham in April. And they might even go, okay, we completely agree with that, let's go and get him beat a couple of more times, or at least one more time in late February, early March. Get him beat again, get him back down to that 137 mark and turn back up at Cheltenham for the Silver Trophy, and he would take all of the beating again, wouldn't he? I think that's why I'm watching Risk in the Ground, just to see how comfortably he gets beat, and what the handicapper might do with him. But my bet in the race is Moon d'Orange. He's off an effective lower mark than when winning it last year, a much bigger price than when winning it last year. I have question marks about Jaguar as to whether he's going to be fully trying, so that is why Moon d'Orange is my bet in the race. Moving on to the 150, which is the Glenfarclas Cross Country Handicap Chase. I love the cross country races, I really do. I also think there is a really standout bet horse in this race, and that is the favourite, J'Arrive de l'Est. I would actually have him shorter price than that. I think he's going to go off 6-4 than what you can currently get, the 7-4, 13-8, 15-8 if you've got a William Hill account. As you know, we ignore these Bet365 odds. Anyone who claims or posts betting slips at Bet365, don't follow them. Essentially, do not follow them, because if you were successful or had any positives in your betting, you would not have a Bet365 account. And very often they are completely edited slips, and they are catching people out, and people are following them and getting, doing terrible following their selections, etc. So, J'Arrive de l'Est at 7-4. Why do I like J'Arrive de l'Est? I was watching his run last time, when he got beat by Final Orders, and I thought, I don't know what on earth is going on. Initially, I was like, okay, he's not staying the trip, because it was a step up in trip massively, from 2 mile 6, 2 mile 7, up to 3 mile 5. I thought, oh, he's not staying, because he appeared to be dropping away. And then he closed back up again under Dolomila. And then he dropped away again. And then he closed back up. He was on and off the bridle, looking like he's going to go close. Then he was like, okay, he's going to drop away, and that French form is not worth anything. Then he came back again. I think Dolomila was looking at this race looking at that race back in December as, does the horse stay? Does the horse act over this track? It was a complete sighter, in my opinion. And the answer to all of those questions was yes. Now, he's only rated 126. Got to win this. They've got to be trying to win this. There's a couple of reasons. One, it's a race to win. Also, if they turned up at Cheltenham at this stage and Stumptown turned up, they would be well out of the handicap. And it would be a waste of his current handicap mark, in that he'd be so far out of the handicap that if he then finished second or third at the Cheltenham Festival, the handicapper would have to move him up significantly, because he would have been running off a much higher mark anyway. Whereas, at least if you run off your handicap mark and get beat, the handicapper might go, okay, you're about right then. So they'll want to win this, because there's, final orders 147 is not pushing him out the handicap in this race, but Stumptown's handicap mark would push him out come the Cheltenham Festival. So you might as well win this race en route. This is kind of like what Heracles Westwood didn't do. Heracles Westwood, a horse that we've been heavily critical of the campaigning, ran in a race where he was out of the handicap, went up in the handicap, and then had to run off that new mark on his next run, which he did then win off. Okay, he won off that mark, but that meant the race before was a complete waste, because he'd gone up, I think it was like £7 or £9, and picked up pittance in prize money because he'd finished fourth. That's what they don't want to be doing with Jerive de l'Est here, the Emmett Mullins team. And to be honest, I don't think they're... Emmett Mullins, Paul Byrne, I think know all of that. They're not... They've got their head screwed on. They know what they're doing with their handicap marks, and this is the time to go and win a race with Jerive de l'Est. So I actually think he's a real standout on Saturday. I think he's got a huge chance, and I think he will take all of the beating, and I think it'll be a much more regulation ride, and I think he'll win this quite comfortably, to be honest. Moving on to the 225, not really a race that I'm that interested in. I'll give my little thoughts about it. Grey Dawning is the best horse. Spillane's Tower, I don't really know why he's got his handicap mark what he has. I know this isn't a handicap, but he's rated 164, so you're kind of saying, well, he's actually only £2 lower rated than Grey Dawning. I don't know where that's come from. I can't see the bit of form that genuinely suggests he's that good. Long Press is 11 for Venetia Williams. Her horses have been running terrible all season. Can I see that horse beating Grey Dawning? Probably not. And Flooring Porter, he's here with the Nationals in mind. They'll probably want to get him comfortably beaten here on his first run for well over a year. To drop £4, £5, £6, they'll want to be down in the 150s before they turn up for a national. Off 162, I can't see him winning a national, especially at the age of 11. But if he got heavily dropped here, potentially he might start getting interesting. So I think Grey Dawning wins this, but it's not really a betting race for me. We then move on to the 3 o'clock. Similar sort of thoughts here. Sergino is the 2-miler and wins the 2-mile race. The New Lion needed further, needs 2.5. I'm not sure he was going to win last time out when falling in a race that those horses in behind him he should have been comfortably putting away at that point, and yet actually wasn't when he came down. I kind of feel like if we look at that race, he was still being challenged by Golden Ace, Amsterdam and Nemean Lion. Now, Nemean Lion, you can see, is 50-1 for this race. The New Lion was not guaranteed to beat him or guaranteed to run away from him. Should they be anywhere near those sort of prices? No, I think the New Lion should be a bigger price. I don't think this 2-mile trip is his trip. I think they'll find out he wants further and actually probably go to Aintree for a grade 1 over 2.5. And then I think next season they'll go over fences with the New Lion, because they'll go, he's not quick enough for a champion hurdle, but we might have a Ryanair horse on our hand. And Brentford Hopes just shouldn't be good enough. I know we got a good win with that horse last week under Megan Fox, the jockey, not the Megan Fox, the sheer model. But yeah, Brentford Hope's there to pick up some prize money. Nemean Lion is there to pick up some prize money. The New Lion I don't think will have the speed, and Sergino will win this quite comfortably. So that's the 3 o'clock. Now the 3:35 is one that I do want to talk about. And he's now being backed. We highlighted this one yesterday for our Premium and Pro members. He was a bigger price at that point, and I know why he's being well supported. Impose Toi, after looking at this race properly, I actually think he's probably too big still at 5 to 6. When we've got the likes of, if we go back here, Grey Dawning at being like 4 to 6, 8 to 13. I kind of feel that's what we should have Impose Toi at. And the reason for that Of those, if we take out the second favourite, Strong Leader, do we think any of the others are Grade 1, Grade 2 horses? No, not for me. Marchand 2 is an improving handicapper, but not good enough for graded company. Doddy the Great, Gal Road, Naas, definitely not. So we're only left with one danger, in my opinion, to Impose Trois, and that's Strong Leader. And actually, I've backed Strong Leader, I think, on both occasions this season against Impose Trois, and he's been beaten on both occasions to finish second. So you're like, well, why don't you stick with him? Why aren't you being, loyal and sticking with the horse? Well, he's been beaten at Newbury and he's been beaten at Ascot. His form at Newbury, this is Strong Leader, before that race was 1 run, 1 win. His form at Ascot was second and then a disappointing 10th when sent off the 11-8 favourite when he ran no sort of race. But at least he'd gone quite close on his other occasion when he was second, beaten a length. Now, he comes to Cheltenham, Strong Leader does. What's his form at Cheltenham? Second in a bumper, 9th in the Supreme, 4th of 4 in a rail kill, 3rd of 7 in a Cleve hurdle, and 4th of 6 in a Cleve hurdle. Last season was beaten by Gal Road, Montmirail and Botox Haas. Gal Road, that horse that reopposes here. Strong Leader's form at Cheltenham is rubbish. So that reads 2, 9, 4, 3, 4. Rubbish. So considering he's come from tracks that he liked, Newbury and Ascot, he's now going to a track that he doesn't run well at. I can't see why he can reverse that form with Impose Trois. And Impose Trois, if we then look at his form and go, okay, does he like Cheltenham? Well, he's been to the track twice. He won a handicap hurdle back in November 2023. Relatively comfortably, albeit it was only off 1-2-1, but it was still a handicap hurdle over 2 mile. And then last season he got beat by Jimmy Desoy in the Coral Cup, beating Ballyadam. Now, both of those are graded horses that were running in a handicap. That's not a disappointing run at all. So he's at Cheltenham that he likes. Strong Leader's at Cheltenham that he doesn't like. I think there should be even bigger discrepancy in their prices than what there currently is. Impose Trois was odds against. He's now odds on, but I think he should be even shorter than that. Yeah, I don't get the angle of Impose Trois not being. Probably be one of the bankers tomorrow. I actually mentioned in my analysis earlier this week that I think the likes of Impose Trois. You could put Impose Trois, J'Arrive de l'Est, and maybe something like Sergino in a little treble. I think all of them win comfortably, to be honest. And yeah, I don't mind that sort of little bet at all. Anyway, let's keep going because we've got lots to talk about. 4:10, Novice's Hurdle. Good novice hurdle this is. This is a good novice hurdle. I have no idea who's going to win this. I'm not having a bet, but I'm definitely watching it. There is lots of form lines here. I mean, the 33-1 outsider of the field is a done deal, and his form is 1-1-1. That's crazy that a horse with that form is 33-1 for this. I think that's not that's going to be my bet in the race. Not at all. I'm not having a bet in the race. I just think it demonstrates how good this race is. It's probably one of the most competitive races in my opinion. If we see a very impressive winner, they would have to be considered for the Cheltenham Festival. So that's Cheltenham done. Let's move on to Doncaster. Very quick mention of the 12:20. I don't really have an angle. I think it's another good race. It's another good Fillies Juvenile hurdle. Don't have a bet in the race though. 12:55 I do. 12:55. Whoops, sorry. 12:55. I like Carlin Rig. So why do I like Carlin Rig? Well, I think this trip is what made him last time out when he was winning at Cheltenham, beating They Call Me Hugo. And I feel like they might be coming here to go, do we have an Albert Bartlett horse? I think they do. I think they do. I think his effort previously when he was beaten by Rocking Man was a good effort. It was over the wrong trip. He was only a 5-year-old. Rocking Man was 6. It was at Chepstow. Rocking Man was definitely going to be, you know, fully tuned up for that, being owned by Di Walters, being a Welsh owner. Carlinrig just ran on nicely that day. Was giving £3. Yes, he has to give £5 this time. But I think the extra step up and trip will suit him a lot more than it will Rocking Man. We know it suited him because he went on to win over 3 mile, beating They Call Me Hugo. I think that was good form, and yeah, I really like Carlinrig. I think he's going to run a really, really nice race here, and hopefully put himself in on that bus, on the whatever you call it, for Cheltenham, for Dan Skelton, for that Albert Bartlett. I'd also like him to win because I hope that they switch Moneygarrow from the Albert Bartlett into the 3 mile handicapper at Aintree. I really like him for that, Moneygarrow, and hopefully Carlinrig can take his place in the Albert Bartlett itself by winning this race and winning it quite nicely. This is quite a good race. It will certainly, I think we'll probably find out one of, if not the best British trained Albert Bartlett contenders here. Definitely a race to watch, but I'm hoping Carlinrig comes out on top. 1:30, Mayor's Grade 2. The horse I like here, I do have one that I quite like here, is Feet of a Dancer. And I personally think it's between the two, Jatara and Feet of a Dancer. And the reason I'm going for Feet of a Dancer is I think her form recently has demonstrated she's stepped up again. She's got better and better and she keeps improving. Whereas I think Jatara is about... We found her level. Her handicap mark of 145. I know this isn't a handicap mark, but her official rating is 145. That's all she can go to. Whereas I think Feet of a Dancer could improve past her. Some of the runs recently for Feet of a Dancer that kind of give me that idea. She was 4th in a very good Pertemps final behind Dodley the Great, Jericho de Repenay and Catch'em Derry. We know Jericho de Repenay was thrown in that day. Dodley the Great, to be fair, was thrown in. They both went to punch down and finish 1st and 2nd. Catch'em Derry for the Skeltons. Didn't quite frank that form when going to Aintree, but I still like that horse. Still ran a good race for 5th. Don't know where Catch'em Derry is, but could be still nicely handicapped off 131. That form does look strong. And then last time out for Feet of a Dancer, she took on Wad Who. Arguably had no chance in that race, but ran a really nice race to finish only 2 1/4 lengths behind. I thought that was a very good effort from Feet of a Dancer. Some people will look at it and go, yeah, but Feet of a Dancer has taken on Jatara before and got beat. And I would say, I agree, Jatara did beat Feet of a Dancer back at Limerick in October 2024. Feet of a Dancer is a year younger, and at that time, Feet of a Dancer was only rated 131. She's now rated 141. So she's improved. Jatara was rated 145 that day. She is still rated 145. She hasn't improved. Okay, she's not regressed yet, but she's not improved. On that running, I think Feet of a Dancer can reverse that form now because she's a better horse than what she was when she got beat at Limerick. So yeah, I like Feet of a Dancer here. I think the Paul Nolan and the Jessica Harrington horses are going to be the two to focus on here. They've come over from Ireland. I think they are going to be the two that battle it out. But I'm hoping Feet of a Dancer just demonstrates that she's stepped forward again from her couple of runs this season. And yeah, can win that race at 5-2. 9-4, sorry. We keep going. 205, Great Yorkshire Chase. And we are sticking with a horse that we've highlighted before. That is Joya Machan. Back at this track, we hope Joya Machan is given a better ride by Tristan Durrell than Harry Atkins gave him over this course and distance last time out. We're also hoping they might have gone, we thought he ran really well there, and yet things went against us and it didn't quite work, and yet we might as well go back for another feature race. Finished 4th last time at Doncaster, over 3 mile, when being given a terrible ride by Harry Atkins. Went too wide, didn't jump amazing, just gave away so much ground on the final bend. It almost went into it really close, came out of it 5-6 lengths behind, and then kept running into trouble. It was I thought both Skelton's horses that day were given poor rides. Prince Zalta by Tristan Durrell and Joya Machan by Harry Atkins. Hoping Tristan Durrell can give Joya Machan a better ride here. Dropped a couple of pounds in the weights. I know Harry Atkins did take off 7, so that would have helped anyway. In my opinion, just shouldn't be the outsider in this race. I would have him down here sort of thing, 15 to 2, 8 to 1. Only went a 4s last time. In a similar-ish race, went off a shorter price than Doc Picked Me, who's down here. I think Joya Machan should be a shorter price, and with a better ride, I think goes pretty well here. The danger and the one to beat is Grand Geste. Under Danny McMenamin, that last time out effort did look a very good effort when coming through to beat My Silver Lining at Haydock in the Tommy Whittle. It was a good run. He'd also previously finished 2nd of the Jukebox Kid, who's come out and won since. Yeah, the form is there all to see, but he is going up in the handicap now. He's up from initial mark of 110 at the beginning of this season up to 129 now. Got to continue that improvement, whereas Joya Machan has at least gone the other way and started to come into a handicap mark that he could certainly get competitive off. So that is the 205 at Doncaster. We keep going. We then have the 238. I've looked at this race again. I totally understand why Noble Park has been priced up as the initial favourite. He should be favourite. 9 to 4. Keep an eye out for what other price you might get. You might be able to get 5 to 2 about this horse. Goes back to what we were talking about earlier at Kempton. That run at Kempton, when 6th, when not jumping very well, was probably a decent race. Barlavento's being supported. Secret de Dieu is being supported for a race at Cheltenham. Queensbury Boy got smashed up and should have won at Windsor if it wasn't for a couple of mistakes late on. It was probably a good race at Kempton, and I am pretty confident it was a better race than what he's running in here. And he didn't jump well that day, and he made and he went off the 7 to 4 favourite. So he went off favourite for a better race, 7 to 4 favourite, and made mistakes. Don't make as many mistakes this time. In an easier race, surely he takes all the beating. And you go, okay, that was one run though. Let's look at his run before that. He was winning a handicap chase at Lingfield, beating Van der Poel. He beat Van der Poel by 24 lengths that day. That horse running off a mark of 128. He's now rated 141. So Van der Poel is up, what's that, £13? £13 since that effort behind Noble Park. He's come out and beaten Stencil and Copmask, Ascot and Sandown respectively. So he's up, what did I say, £13. Noble Park is only up 11. So a horse who was beaten 24 lengths is actually higher, has gone up more than the horse who actually won the race. Yeah, I can see why Noble Park is this price. Probably a very close to being a really good bet tomorrow. Let's see what prices the others come out with. Anything around that 9 to 4, 5 to 2. I think he's worth a bet though. If you like, especially if you liked him at Kempton last time. If you backed him at Kempton and you're not backing him here, what on earth are you doing? Moving on, 313. This is another one that I really like here. Mighty Bandit. 6 to 5, 11 to 10. I don't mind this at all. In actual fact, I think I mentioned earlier that I was saying J'arrive de l'Est, Impose Toi, and Sergino. Well, if you want a bit of a bigger price instead of Sergino, I think Mighty Bandit could be that one. He's a 6-year-old. He's an improving 6-year-old. His form stacks up. Second, 2 runs ago behind Mambo number 5, as I've mentioned this race already. Mambo number 5 went and won. The fourth horse has come out and won. The third horse we think might go really close tomorrow at Cheltenham. He himself, Mighty Bandit, came out and won. And when he won, he went to Newbury, went back to Newbury, and he beat Highlands Legacy. What did Highlands Legacy do? Well, and won. The fourth placed horse, Tornado, from that Highlands Legacy race, from that Mighty Bandit race, sorry, come out and finished second to Highlands Legacy. The form just continually stacks up. Fifth placed Copmask has since been beaten not that far by Van der Poel. It's just such good form, this Mighty Bandit form, this Mambo number 5 form. It is working out left, right and centre. I think he's a real good one tomorrow. The improving 6-year-old can go and win again. He's an improving 6-year-old, and the other, sometimes the concern is you get these horses that are improving that then have to give away loads of weight. He's not one of those. He's one of those that's sitting nicely in the middle of the handicap still, can win this off just 11 stone, isn't going to be given all the weight. That's not an excuse. There's no reason for Mighty Bandit to lose this race, in my opinion, other than falling or unseating. Touch wood, he doesn't do that. But I just feel he's so progressive compared to the others and should be winning this race. I'll keep going. I promise you there's not too much talking to do. Next race I want to look at is the 103 at Fairyhouse. The handicap. Don't want to look at the graded races. It's the handicap that interests me. I'm just waiting to see what price we might get about this horse. And that horse is Gringo Dobrel under Michael Keneally. I really like him. I think he's going to take all of the beating if he stays up. That was the only reason I feel he lost at he lost his last race, as he fell. I think he would have won that. He gets to stay off that same 113 mark. Michael Keneally takes back up in trip. I think everything is in his favour. He went off 9-4 favourite last time at Punchestown. I'm hoping we might get something about similar off on the basis that he fell last time out, so we can't make him like odds on sort of thing. I think he really should be, you know, a real standout here. 6-5. I wouldn't go much bigger than that, to be honest. Michael Keneally takes back over. Michael rode him 2 runs ago to win a handicap hurdle when he ran off an effective mark of 124. He's rated 113 over hurdles, so over fences. Sorry, he's lower rated over fences, and his hurdle mark is actually 131 now, compared to the 113 over fences. He's absolutely thrown in here. Just needs to get round, in my opinion, and if he does, he will take all of the beating. 2 more to go. 1 tomorrow. Let's talk about that one quickly. At 12:47 at Uttoxeter, the conditional jockey's handicap hurdle. El Jefe, or El Jefe, it's got to be El Jefe, isn't it? Ben Smith rides this 105 rated handicap hurdler. 2 reasons why I like this horse tomorrow. First of all, Ben Smith takes back over, and he needs to win here. What I mean by that is he's currently rated 105. Ben Smith and the trainer will want him to win to try and get him back into the handicap at Aintree in April. The race that he won back in 2024. He won that off a mark of 109 when he was out of the handicap. They won't want to be too far out of the handicap. In actual fact, you're not allowed to be too far out of the handicap under the new rules. So they'll definitely want to be winning this race to try and make sure that he definitely gets in that race at Aintree, which they've won before. The trainer and the jockey. And with that in mind, his effort last time out at Haydock also then suggests it was a good run from him. I thought he was a very good second, staying on behind Hurrah. I liked Hurrah that day. I thought he was going to take all of the beating. He did. El Jefe really caught my eye that day. Ben Smith back on. In a race that he probably needs to win. Keep an eye out for the price about him at Uttoxeter in the 12:47 tomorrow. And finally, the last horse I want to talk about is actually due to run on Sunday. And this is him here. Built by Ballymore. Could be thrown in for a handicap at Naas on Sunday. He's had one run this season. Finished 4th of 10, beaten 28 lengths in a beginner's chase. Has he been in a handicap before over fences? No. Has he been in a handicap before over hurdles? Yes, he's actually been in 2. He has run in a Coral Cup and a series final, novice handicap series final at Fairyhouse. In those 2 races, he went off the 4-1 favourite for the Coral Cup, and he went off 8-1 for the novices handicap hurdle at Fairyhouse. Off marks, handicap marks of 139 and 135. Over fences, he's rated 122. So he's £17 lower rated over fences than when he went off the 4-1 favourite for the Coral Cup in 2024. And he's £13 lower rated than when he went off 8-1 for a feature handicap at Fairyhouse. They've looked after him, they've got him back, they've given him the 1 run. He's had the fitness run over too far. They knew he would struggle, they knew he'd disappoint, and they're now throwing him into a handicap. They'll want to win this, because if they've got any aspirations of going to the Cheltenham Festival with him, they've got to win this. If they have any aspirations of ending up at Punchestown at the end of the season, they've probably got to win this. So I think they will be trying on Sunday, and I think whatever price he opens up at, he's going to be really well supported. As long as too many people don't listen to this video. He's going to be one of those that opens, say he opened at 8, then suddenly started people started reading into the form and looking into it and going, hang on a second, he could be thrown in. And I think he's going to get smashed up. Built by Ballymore on Sunday in the 3:55 at Naas. Thanks for listening, everyone. That's quite a long video. There's lots of different races that I've talked about. I feel like if I'm going to very quickly go through and do my nap next best and third best for the day, we are going to go... J'arrive de l'Est is going to be my next best. Impose-Toi is my... And then we are going to go Mighty Bandit is my third best. So that's Impose-Toi. They are my 3. Impose-Toi is my nap. J'arrive de l'Est is my next best. And Mighty Bandit is my third best. Thanks for listening. Have an amazing weekend. And let's hope for lots of winners.